Hi, everyone. Welcome to the recording of our in-kind and volunteer requesting process. So for our agenda, we're going to talk about our introduction to VCE departments. In the first 30 minutes, we'll chat about in-kind information, which includes partnership with suppliers, the requesting process, other resources for families, and we'll go over some Q&A. And then in the second part of this session, we will talk about volunteer request. We'll explain our CII COA policy, the difference between infrequent versus frequent, and our onboarding process. So who is the Volunteer Engagement Department, short for VCE? My name is Soleil Delgadillo. I'm our Volunteer and Community Engagement Director, and I've been at CII for 6 years.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Stephanie Gonzalez, and I'm the Volunteer and In-Kind Specialist, and I've been here at CII for a little bit over 5 years.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Solorzano. I am the Volunteer and In-Kind Assistant, and I've been with CII for a little bit over 2 years.
And in case you need to reach us, our group email is vce@children'sinstitute.org.
Thank you. And who should attend this session? We like to welcome everyone, but we think that this is very important information or a useful tool for managers and supervisors that are working with direct staff, new employees, current employees, or anyone specifically servicing families who are requesting or in need of in-kind or volunteers.
So VCE at a glance, we're going to chat about all the different departments or sub-departments that we are in charge of. So the first one is in-kind department. We oversee the acquisition and distribution of donated products to families. The volunteer department, we oversee the onboarding, screening, and placement of volunteers. We support an economic mobility initiatives, which include flex funding, and I'll chat more about our CII summer internship, and of course, our CII-wide events, which you best know us for Winter Festival.
So who is the In-Kind Department? We here at the In-Kind Department exist to support our families with essential items that they may need to reduce any stress so that they can fully engage in the services that they are receiving with CII. Essential items can vary from diapers, baby wipes, and clothing, and these items are completely free for all of our clients. Here we will talk about in-kind values. So every time we get a donation from any of our partners, we actually put a dollar amount to these donations so we can see how much we're bringing into the organization and how much we're actually giving out to our families. Here you can see the 2021 to 2022 fiscal year, the amounts by quarters, and the 2022 to 2023 fiscal year. And both these fiscal years, we were able to raise over $1 million for CII and our families.
And we wouldn't be able to do this without the support of our sponsorships or donors. To name a few is Baby to Baby or Good Plus Foundation. Every year we collect this information or all this different data to input into our annual report. And here you can see we share our data with how many diapers we receive, for example, or the amount of hygiene products. And of course, this is our special page to give a shout out to those donors. So thank you to all our donors and sponsors. And next, we will go over the products that we have and where we get them or who we get them from. Our in-kind partners here at CII are Baby to Baby, which they provide diapers, packs of wipes, formula for infants, and baby hygiene items. Shelter Partnership also supports with hygiene supplies like shampoo and body wash. Good Plus Foundation was one of our previous partnerships. We no longer have that partnership with them, but we do receive donations from them seasonal. And specifically with CII request from our partners, we are not always guaranteed these items, but we will make that request. And VCE or our department is a main source of contact for these partnerships. So if you ever need anything specifically from an interest of Baby to Baby, for example, please reach out to us and we will make that ask to them. If you were to ask them on your own, for example, that email will get bounced back to us or our Baby to Baby partnerships will notify us about that ask and just connect back with us, the VCE team. So please, if you have any questions or any inquiries for any donations from any of these partnerships, please reach out to us so that we can make that ask with them directly. But we are always open to new connections. So if you have any retail connections or anyone that you know is interested in donating, please reach out to us and we can make that ask to them.
So Good Plus Foundation and Project Fatherhood. If you do have a father that is engaging in your program or a father figure, please make sure to reach out to Noemi or Keith Parker. They, like we mentioned, have the partnership with Good Plus Foundation, and they donate safety items such as car seats, strollers, cribs, etc. But definitely you need to enroll the father or father figure into the program first before having access to these different products.
And
then
these,
essential.
oh,
Sorry, go
sorry.
ahead. Sam.
This is a list of our essential item inventory. For some of these items, there's a high likelihood of that we will receive, and some it's very rare. To name a few, high likelihood items are diapers sizes 0 to 5 or girl clothing. Very easy for us to receive that. Medium likelihood is adult clothing for men or women. Low likelihood items for us to receive are size 6 diapers. Baby wipes are unfortunately very rare since they are in high demand. Shoes, furniture, safety gear, or boy clothing is also another difficult item for us to receive. In terms of our products, they vary depending on season. We cannot specifically ask our partners for a brand like Huggies or a specific stroller or car seat. It's just depending on what they have in their inventory and what they're able to donate to us. If there's any brands, for example, Huggies might be causing a rash to the child, please let us know in the comment section of our form, which we will go over in a little bit, so we can be aware of that and we won't pack that diaper brand to your order.
And then here, we like to ask, what kind of in-kind product do you think was most donated to CII? We have diapers, children's clothing, hygiene products, and adult clothing. And the answer for this is actually diapers. So diapers was actually the most donated product for our in-kind department at 74.4%. And then we have adult clothing, hygiene, and children's clothing. Here we have a little pie chart just showing different items that we get donated, but diapers were the most donated.
Thank you. And next we will be going over the requesting process for you all. And to start off, before requesting, we do ask for you to have communication or best practices with your families. One is to assess the goals of the family. What are their goals? Is there anything that we can support to match or to help this family achieve that goal? Also determining the need. There are a lot of items on the form stack in-kind request, which might be intriguing, but we do ask that you only request the items that the family is in need of. And then also setting expectations and boundaries with the families. Please let them know that nothing is guaranteed. We set these expectations with you also. You can also share that with your families because of course we are not guaranteed these items that we ask from our donors or our partners. And also setting boundaries. We do not guarantee everything. We cannot sustain every donation or every request because we just don't have the inventory or the capacity to support everything. So please ensure that if a family is asking weekly or monthly for diapers, for example, maybe there's something else that we can connect them to a resource or discuss budgeting options with them. If there's anything like that, we would be happy to make those connections. But I'm just keeping this in mind when you're requesting. And essential items for your form to be completed, we do ask that you only enter one entry per family. Please provide the goals of this family. And there are pickup expectations. So if the staff member or the family member would like to pick up, please keep this in mind when you are requesting the drop-off location. For example, let's say you're a staff member that works at Long Beach. Please ensure that you want the items to be delivered to Long Beach and not to OB, so we can make sure that the items are sent to your location. And this form is only for CII staff, so please do not share with your families or any external agencies or colleagues outside of CII. And some important questions or context to keep in mind or to have ready to complete the form is, of course, like what we mentioned earlier, but this form is very useful for us because it keeps us organized. We do have a lot of requests coming in per month, and it just helps us keep everything in file and understand who is requesting, what it is that they're requesting, and where to send these items to. We also collaborate with operations and front desk, and this is helpful information so that they are aware of what's headed to their site and what they're expecting. This form is also used as a label or a shipping or packing slip when we are requesting or fulfilling these orders. It'll say on there, for example, Stacy is a staff member that's requesting, or Jane Doe the client, and you'll be able to see how many items are in your order. The form is a little lengthy because there's a lot of questions that are similar to our donor requirements or the questions that our donors are asking. So we want to ensure that all that information is ready so that we can get these items when we're requesting. We also ask for client or staff goals. As I mentioned earlier, we want to hear from you all. What are your goals with the client, or what is the client's goals to achieve throughout the year or this month? We want to ensure that we can connect with you in that way. And this also helps us understand who is requesting and how many folks we are serving. As you saw earlier in our annual report, we will fill out all that useful data and information so we can just get a clear view of what we were able to accomplish this year. And after you've submitted the request, what happens next, or what you can expect to happen next, is that Stacy or myself will send out an email to you that we received your order. And on there, we'll let you know a status update or an expected time frame when you will be expecting these items. And if there's any updates that need to be made on that form, let's say, for example, Stacy put her personal name on the client name instead of Jane Doe, she filled out Stacy. So this is helpful for us to update so that we can ensure this is going to the correct family that she's requesting for. So if there's any changes that need to be made, you can always just respond back to that email that we send out to you, and we'll make the updates on our end. After the order has been fulfilled and we finish packing everything, we will send you another email or another status email to highlight the items that were fulfilled in this order. Next slide, please. And then the timeline of this process, you might be wondering why it can take a while. It's just a lot of moving pieces. But this hopefully helps you understand what's going on our end to ensure these items are headed to you. So this process can take 3 to 6 weeks. Step 1 will be you, the staff member, is completed the form on FormStack. Step 2 is we will make the ask to our donors or to our partners to receive these items. Step 3 is our operations team will go over to the donor's warehouse to pick up these items. Step 4, our department will receive the delivery, will pack everything and make it look nice. Step 5, the ops team will pick up these items from, let's say, Otis booth and send it to Long Beach, for example. And the final step will be front desk will notify. Sorry, Stacey, can you take a lead?
Yes, so final step is the front desk will notify staff members when your items and donations are ready for pickup. So what does pickup look like? Every time that there is a donation already handed out to the sites, you will be notified by our front desk staff. We have at Otis booth, Sandra Diaz and Joanna Sanchez. At Long Beach, we have Veronica Ruiz and Lucy Lobos. And at Watts, we have Erica Gutierrez and Maria Huerta, and also Yvette Franco. So please be on the lookout for their emails to let you know once the items have arrived. Please keep in mind that staff members do have 2 weeks to pick up their items from the date that the staff members are notified. If anything happens, like Stephanie mentioned, any emergency situations where you are not able to pick up within that 2-week window, please keep us notified. That way we don't have your items returned and we're able to actually fulfill your order. We also have front operations staff members at each of our sites. So here's a picture of our staff members from operations at the Otis booth campus. But we also have them at Otis booth, Watts, Mid-Wilshire, and Long Beach, and they are the ones that help send out all the donations to your sites. So big shout out to them.
So mandatory impact stories, thank you pictures and letters to make sure that we have a great relationship with our donors and partners. We need to make sure that we're collecting impact stories, thank you letters, and pictures so that way we can send it out to them. A couple of thank you letter best practices. One is sharing how the products helped. Our partners are fully aware that a pack of diapers will not change the entirety of a client's life, but they do want to know, hey, these pack of diapers were able to help us fund another thing that we needed. So just moving around different funds. Also, if you want to put down how it's accomplished any goals that the client may have, or if it's supported you in your relationship and working with the client. So picture best practices. Sometimes clients don't want to be pictured, and that's totally fine. Other workarounds include taking pictures with the child's hands with the products, maybe behind the head of the child or their cute little feet. Anything definitely helps. You are more than welcome to screen grab or a text message of a client who, wrote a thank you letter. That works as well, and you can send that to us either on Teams, text message, email, any mode that works for you. And if you need branded CII thank you letters, we do have some at the front desk, or you can just use a paper and pen. That's totally fine. And next slide. And so here are some examples of pictures and thank you letters that we really love. So you'll see at the top left-hand corner, it's just a simple letter that was written on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be fancy, and this totally is a great example. And then of course you'll see all the products with the babies in them. They're super cute. And it's helpful to showcase what the product is because our donors will communicate to their donors, hey, Graco here is something with one of the families who benefit from the products. So here are some examples. If you still have questions, feel free to reach out to us. Next slide. So now we're going to pivot and talk about flex funding. So for a couple of you, you may be aware of flex funding, but for those that are not, the purpose of the fund is to help families during a period of significant disruption or crisis. The fund is intended as bridge support that is limited in level and duration, but will assist the family to resolve the crisis. During this process, a plan is created to sustain the family's progress and avoid a similar crisis after the flex funding has been utilized. Currently, we do not have unrestricted flex funding available for all programs, but we do have some specifically for family preservation, ITSP, and some consideration for employment programs. As of today, September 29, 2023, depending on your specific program, you can definitely ask your program supervisor or VP to see if there is other types of flex funding available, but that's really dependent on individual departments. Next slide.
And then we will pivot into in-kind questions and answers.
So reporting in-kind contributions. So a question. Is my program able to accept donations? Yes, we love, and some of you do communicate any products that you receive. So on the right-hand corner, you'll see kind of a receipt that we give out to our donors for any products that are contributed. And we have them at front desk in case you receive a product, or you can just email us and say, hey, X, Y, and Z is coming our way. What do we do next? Why it's great to share the products that you're able to bring into the organization is because we report everything out to finance department. We have a big in-kind log, and that's where we get that big number, the over $1 million evaluation, is just folks sharing any products that they have received. And we also like to track external suppliers, so maybe it becomes a reoccurring donation from that partner, or other things is sending out proper tax and thank you documentation. So we appreciate any partnership in this area. So can we request in-kind for events? Yes. Please let us know at least 4 to 6 weeks in advance or more. This is helpful for us because we can reach out to our partners and let them know, hey, do you have X, Y, or Z available, or we're hosting XYZ events. Are there any products that align with it that they would like to distribute out? We ask for this advanced timing is because we have to work with operations to pick up products and also figure out where we will store it in advance of your event. But just keep in mind, best practice is budget for any giveaways. So make sure to put it into your program budget if you want to buy gift cards, for example, or say it's a college fair and you want to give out backpacks. That's something that we would budget out for. And then just use in-kind as supplemental. Again, when we're working with our partners, sometimes we have no idea what they have in their inventory and it may or may not fit with your events, but most products that we do get, I know families do appreciate any support. Next slide.
So here we will have more questions. Can I order specific brands or items for my families? The answer is no. Our donors give us generic items, but again, if there is one specific product, let's say Huggies as diapers, that give a family a rash, please let us know that ahead of time so we do not pack that in your order. Are items available for staff members? The answer is no. Unfortunately, they are only available for our families that we serve. Will I get a tracking number? No, unfortunately not. We're not Amazon. But like Stephanie mentioned, we will be sending you an email with the status update. Again, it usually takes 3 to 6 weeks for turnaround time, but thank you so much for your patience. And I shared with my family that the items are confirmed. When are they coming? I promise them. So I recommend focusing on clients' goals and using donations as incentives. Providing monthly support to families is not sustainable. Again, we do not know what products or when we will be getting the products from our donors. So just not making that promise to the families and just using it more as incentives to them reaching their goals during their services with us. And should I notify you if I close a client? Yes, please always keep us in the loop. It is helpful for us to know if you are no longer working with that client, so we know not to pack that order. Or if the client has moved to a different staff member, please let us know about who that staff member is as well. That way we're able to communicate with that new staff member on this client's order. What items can I get quickly? So on our FormStack link, you can actually request items that are specifically in stock. You can see that on the top, the current in-house inventory that we have. So Stephanie and I work really well with updating this to see what we have in stock at our office at Otis booth. So if you have anything, if you see anything there and you want to stop by and we have it in stock, we can provide that for you. And why are there so many questions? Our donors ask for it. Similarly to applying for grants, we do have to submit a lot of data points. So thank you so much for being very detailed. And I'm sorry that it's taking a lot or it might be a little lengthy, but we thank you for it.
Thank you. And some of the questions we received as well as like, can I just request from Samantha, for example, or can I request from our team directly? Which is, the answer is no. This is the way you have to request through us, the VCE department. Our department is the sole holder of requesting and distributing products. So we are the ones that we will support you with that request. And if you have any questions regarding flex funding or in kind or what's in our inventory, you can always ask us, but you can also check out the in-house inventory link or section of the form, and everything can be found through Mango, or you can obviously just reach out to us, the VCE team, at vce@children'sinstitute.org. And then final thoughts regarding in-kind, a few considerations as we work with you all. We are a staff of 3, and it can be a lot when we receive donations and to package everything and make it look nice. So please bear with us and thank you for your patience. Our supply chain sometimes isn't operating. For example, if the ops team doesn't have a working vehicle to pick up or to transport those items, we do have to wait a little bit for their support. We house our products at various sites. So some folks might think it's easy to just grab and go 10 packs of wipes. It might not be at the current office that we're sitting at, it might be at a different one, or it might be that we need to collaborate with operations to help us bring over those items to you. We do not have a budget to purchase these items. Again, we work with our donors and sponsorships to receive these items. There is a limited capacity to request specialized items outside our pre-existing partnerships. So again, just take some time to collect those items. And our items do not come pre-sorted, pre-folded, pre-packaged. We create all those quality kits for you all, and for the families, of course. And we currently receive about 30 to 50 requests per month, which can be a lot for the three of us to fulfill in a timely manner. But again, we're here to support you all, and we appreciate your patience. And Soleil has created a fun little meme for you all to enjoy with us. On the top left, what staff thinks our in-kind department looks like, which is Amazon, a warehouse. What we wished it looked like, a great display section in Target. What external folks thinks our process looks like, Oprah Winfrey giving out everything, free items. But in reality, what our space looks like sometimes is a lot of boxes, bags that we just need to sort through and again, make those quality kits for you all to receive.
So now we will move on to our volunteer section. So we had a message from the U.S. Surgeon General that the people today face an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. And he says that people that volunteer are less likely to fall into this statistic. Here we see a picture of our volunteer who recently lost a family member not too long ago. And he actually volunteered with us at our most recent warehouse giveaway. And he said that he wanted to come out to volunteer, to get out of the house, to get to do something, to get his mind away from that, and to also give back to his community. So we feel really great to be able to help our volunteers in this way.
Another great reason why the volunteer department exists, or why we value volunteers in general, is volunteering can be a pathway to employment, and it can be very supportive to the volunteers to engage with their community. And every volunteer hour has a dollar amount. And in the year 2021, more than 60.7 million Americans volunteered through an organization locally to them, which contributed to $122.9 billion in economic value. And one of the goals here at the VCE team is that we can hopefully provide $146,000 of economic value to support that as well. And volunteers, as we learn, is that they have a 27% higher odds of finding employment than non-volunteers. So another great way to support volunteers building a pathway to employment.
And then another reason why the volunteer department exists is because we want to establish long-term strategies for volunteers. We do have volunteers with high financial capacity or high wealth who join the different projects that you all have. And so we want to make sure that our volunteers have access to engaging with CII and getting to know us. And so for us, next slide, we make sure to engage with all volunteers, even those who are not like high wealth. So the way that we continue engagement with our volunteers is we have a monthly volunteer newsletter that we send out. On there, we have a give button on the newsletter in case a volunteer does have capacity to give. We provide weekly volunteer orientations, which are on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. And so this is a great access point for anyone who wants to learn about CII and contribute their time and resources. When we do have a frequent volunteer, we do give them a CII swag bag, which includes a t-shirt, a tote bag, a mug, and so much more. Every April, we engage in Volunteer Appreciation Week. So this past one, we highlighted different volunteers who have supported us in the last fiscal year. Volunteer certificates. We send out volunteer certificates for all projects to volunteers. And we have gotten feedback that volunteers really appreciate being recognized for their time. And then coming up soon, we'll be utilizing Rosterify, which is a volunteer data management system, to help us quantify hours and just streamline processes. And of course, end of year giving campaign. So we definitely reach out to our volunteer pool to let them know, hey, we're fundraising for X, Y, and Z. So we can continue fundraising for all the various programs here at CII and support the work that we're accomplishing. But the real reason why the volunteer department exists is we do have a COA standard. If you've been engaged with the process, we work with our compliance, HR, Head Start, and a whole host of other departments to ensure that any volunteers that we bring onto any of our CII campuses or events is screened properly. Our department is specifically responsible for just managing any type of risk associated with volunteers. And so for us, that is our responsibility, is to collect all the data needed. So we'll talk more about it, all the different forms, collecting their hours, collecting emergency contact information from our volunteers, just to make sure all communities are safe. We did have a volunteer who was a Head Start parent, and when she went through the volunteer process, she did share the story of being thankful that our volunteer department exists just to screen any folks who are coming in volunteering with her child. So that feedback is definitely validating. And of course, we are beholden to different state and local laws. So for example, AB 506 is a California state law where any volunteers who volunteer are mandated reporters. And so especially for our frequent volunteers, they do have to go through a 2-hour training, which we have to track. So again, we are responsible for all data collection of any volunteers who are on our campuses. Please make sure to notify us if you want to bring a volunteer on. Do not onboard solely by yourself. Any volunteers, we work directly with HR, and so they will notify us if there is anyone that needs to go through the onboarding process.
And then we will move on to volunteer department data. So last year we started looking at our volunteer numbers, what the economic value of our volunteers was, and we looked at how many orientations we hosted. So in the last fiscal year, we had a total of 323 volunteers, and they volunteered over 1,600 hours with us. Their economic value for California was $56,000, and their national average was $47,000. And we actually hosted volunteer orientations. We hosted 45, where we had 88 attendees, and we let them know who CII was, what our missions and programs were, and any upcoming opportunities that they can apply for. And then apart from that, we also started looking into the volunteer demographics. So last fiscal year, we also included a volunteer demographic sheet where we looked into volunteer race, ethnicity, their gender, whether they identified as part as the LGBTQIA+ community, and the volunteer age. So we had the highest age of volunteers being from the ages of 26 to 35. But we also had volunteers coming and volunteering that were from the age of 56 to 70. So we really have a large pool of volunteers, and it's really amazing to see all this data at the end of the fiscal year.
Another great tool that we used to engage with our volunteers is we took time in April of 2023 to highlight or to appreciate our volunteers. And we did so by posting on our social media page like LinkedIn, Instagram, great pictures of them or testimonials from the volunteers on their experience volunteering with us. Also from the volunteer supervisors that were working directly with volunteers at our ECE frequent volunteer sites. A lot of great words from both volunteers and the volunteer supervisors. And we were thankful to take time to appreciate our volunteers. And another group of volunteers that we were highlighting is our one-day infrequent volunteers. As I mentioned, the ECE frequent volunteers, volunteer advocates that were here at CII, and group volunteers like our Junior League of Los Angeles.
So how do we get the word out to volunteers? Well, like I mentioned, we do have a monthly newsletter that is sent to over 600 subscribers. We recruit on Eventbrite, Volunteer Match, LA Works to expand our reach, and other volunteer channels. with the help of our social media department. We post on our social media channels. And then for us, our ask to you is please follow our timeline, because when we do publish any of our newsletters, this is kind of our cadence. So the second week of the month, we draft out our newsletters with any opportunities that we know about. Third week, we send it to marketing so they can input it into MailChimp and then kind of send us a draft. And then the fourth week of the month, we email the volunteers and then we'll cross promote on other volunteer channels. So that is kind of our timeline. So it's really important to let us know so that way you don't miss one of our newsletters to recruit volunteers for your opportunity. If you know sooner, even if it's just an idea, please let us know just kind of the date and time. Because we do have volunteer groups who meet on a quarterly basis. And so if we're able to forecast out for them what opportunities are coming up, we can communicate that to them and then they can bring out their different groups. So planning is super helpful.
And then we'll move on to volunteer guidelines. So who can volunteer? Anyone is welcome to volunteer with us, as long as they are over the age of 16 for infrequent opportunities. They need to be older if they are trying to work with our community schools or volunteer at our ECE Head Start sites. Usually these are students looking to complete field hours for their practicum, any community members, vecinos or families, any retirees. And a really quick note, staff members cannot volunteer, unfortunately, because you are getting paid. So we do like to tweak the wording and say that staff are supporting with the volunteer event. And then we do have a process. So as Soleil mentioned, please follow up with the VCE team regarding any volunteers that you are looking to recruit. Even if it's just a thought in your head, please keep us in the loop. And volunteers have an onboarding process that is mandatory. So we do host volunteer orientations. We have paperwork that they need to fill out. And there is a process that we need to complete. So please let us know ahead of time if you're looking to recruit any volunteers. So we do have frequent and infrequent volunteer opportunities. So frequent opportunities are usually at our early childhood education school sites where we serve children 0 to 5 years old through our early Head Start and Head Start programs. This is usually a great opportunity for any practicum students looking to complete any field hours or looking to see what it is like to work in the field and work with children. And we also have infrequent opportunities, which include one-day programs / event support. You can check us out on our Eventbrite page for any upcoming opportunities. And this is, let's say, Project Fatherhood has a one-day event. It's on a Saturday and it's 4 hours long. That is technically an infrequent opportunity because it's not repetitive. And then we also have our group and corporate volunteer opportunities where we host corporate volunteer opportunities, and then depending on the scope of the project and the alignment with CII's values.
So here's kind of an engagement cadence when volunteers access us. So on the top, you'll see our infrequent, and then on the bottom, the frequent. So infrequent, usually we get our first interaction with an infrequent volunteer when they sign up via one of our online volunteer platforms. So it could be Eventbrite, LA Works, Volunteer Match. Our second interaction is that volunteer will attend an event within a week or so of signing up. And then their third interaction with us, we'll send a volunteer certificate with the hours that they completed. And then they will be added to our volunteer newsletter so they can continue to come back. Similar cadence with our corporate volunteers. The group will reach out to us, to the VCE team, and see if there's anything that that group can come to. Their second to fifth interaction will involve co-planning an event that they can attend. And then after the activation, the group receives photos, certificates, and other ways to engage. And then for our frequent volunteers, so again, like our ECE or DTI program, a volunteer will sign up for volunteer orientation. They'll complete the onboarding application within a week or so of attending orientation. And depending on how fast the volunteer goes, they can be onboarded within up to 2 weeks, or it could take longer. And then their third interaction, they begin volunteering at one of our Head Starts or DTI location.
And then requesting volunteers. So here is a link to our form stack, or we also have a QR code that you can scan, and this will take you directly to our volunteer requisition form. Again, this form if you can please include as many details as you can. This includes event details, how many volunteers you will need for your event, what will the volunteers be helping out with, and then please submit this form at least 4 weeks prior to your event. This will help us advertise and recruit on all of our volunteer sites and let the volunteer know what to expect when they're going to come and volunteer at any of our sites.
So you're probably wondering, how do we apply all these different levels of screening? So in collaboration with compliance, Head Start, and a whole host of other programs, including HR, we have this policy grid that follows either contract or state laws on what we need to screen a volunteer for. So we have it broken out by Head Start, infrequent versus frequent, and then non-Head Start, again, infrequent versus frequent, and then group volunteers. You'll see that we do have a lot of different screening measures that we are responsible for, which include like vaccination, so like Tdap or MMR for certain groups, especially for our Head Start. We do have to do a background check, especially for our frequent volunteers. And then there are other things that we do. So for example, we do screen volunteers through like Megan's Law website. And then we collect paperwork to ensure that our volunteers are in compliance with our insurance measures. Next slide.
And then we also host volunteer orientation. So we host a virtual volunteer orientation every Wednesday, which lasts about 1 hour to 1.5 hours. This is also very flexible. Let's say you have a volunteer that wants to join and cannot make the 5 p.m. Wednesday Zoom link. Please let us know and we will set time aside to best work with their schedule and when they can join us for orientation. And then it says we start promptly at 5:05. If they do not join in by 5:05, again, if they are not able to join, please just let us know. The agenda for our volunteer orientation is we meet the VCE team, we go over CII's missions and programs, we do a volunteer roles and responsibility, we do a volunteer role play where we get to know the volunteer a little bit more and see what they think about different situations that they might be put in. We go over volunteer opportunities that are coming up and any next steps. So any next steps for the onboarding process after they finish orientation. And then depending on the length of the volunteer project, location, and child involvement, there are different requirements such as age range. Opportunities are available for 16-year-olds and above. There will be a fingerprinting and background check. This is more specifically if you're working directly with children and are a frequent volunteer. We ask for the COVID-19 vaccination, just the primary series for those. Immunizations such as the MMR and Tdap vaccines. And the volunteer orientation that works with covering and protecting children. So then I will not go through all of this, but this is just a list of all the paperwork that we do require for volunteers to complete before starting to work with us at our early Head Start sites and working with the children. So again, we do have a lengthy process that is very mandatory for all our volunteers. So please let us know if you have any volunteers in mind or looking to onboard for any of your events.
And just like Stacy mentioned, depending on the volunteer project, the length of that project, or the location or child involvement, we do have a process for them. This process specifically is for one-day volunteer events, which is, like, for example, our Winter Festival is a one-day event. And this is the paperwork that we'll have for those volunteers attending that event to complete prior. We'll send them an email with all this information, or when they arrive to our site, they will complete these forms. Just to name a few, we have a loss control waiver or a demographic sheet, like Stacy mentioned earlier. But again, this depends on that one-day event opportunity. And depending on the VCE staff availability, so Stacy, Soleil, or myself, if we are available and if we will be at the site for that one-day project to support you all onboarding these volunteers during that event. But also helpful to keep us in mind when you're brainstorming or having an idea to create an event so that we can make sure to arrange our schedules so we can support you best the day of. And another way that we support volunteers for these events is creating like an event logistics page for them. We want to practice great communication with them so that they feel prepared and are aware of everything that's going to happen for that event. So we'll share with them a dress attire, the entrance to the building. We'll let them know parking lot situation, if they're able to park on our campus or if they'll need to look for street parking, if there's going to be food or beverages available for them. If not, then we'll let them know that they can store their food in our refrigerator, again, depending on the length of the volunteer project. And the lactation room available if someone is pregnant or if someone needs a space, any new mothers need the space for that lactation room. So just helpful tools that we prepare for the volunteers for that event.
And then again, on the horizon, we have our volunteer software that we are working with to get going. So any staff who request frequent volunteers, we will most likely bring you along in that journey. And we have contracted with a volunteer software management company called Rosterify because we need help in tracking all of our volunteer hours, demographics, and paperwork. So this will definitely bring capacity to the team so we can continue to support your teams with all your different volunteer requests and needs. Next slide. And then kind of just at a glance, events that are coming up, at least for our team, and then events that we know that we're supporting with you all. So coming up in October, we have our annual Gears for Kids in partnership with Project Fatherhood, Head Start. And then in November, we do work on securing non-perishable food items to support our neediest families during the Thanksgiving break. And then, of course, Winter Festival. It's happening on December 9th, or Saturday, December 9th. There you go. At OB and at Watts. And then we'll release the other dates. Long Beach is slated for Thursday, December 7th, right?
Yes.
Yes. And then, of course, ECE Pajama Party, they are booked for March. And then in the spring, we're working with Junior League to host our father-daughter tea. We're looking at hosting again Prom to Go sometime in April, March. We may or may not have Junior League, a Thrive Through Literacy event in April. And in May, we are working on supporting ECE. They have their car show again. And then in the summer, we're working on our CII summer internship called Lift Off, which will be geared towards 18 to 26-year-olds at summer internships. And of course, we have a whole host of things in between, but yeah, please let us know in advance because our calendars are already getting booked up. And of course, if you can't find anything, and we'll upload this presentation and other links on our Mango page. But if you're not already utilizing Mango, all the different departments, including HR, finance, IT, they have so many resources on there. So please, please, please utilize Mango for any of your needs. There's a search button. Whatever you search, I'm sure it will pop up. But other than that, next slide. Thank you everyone for staying on and learning more about the in-kind and volunteer process.
Thank you.
Thank you.